So my first real estate job was straight out of college. I actually had no idea that I was going to be getting into real estate. I actually went to Michigan State for veterinary medicine. So going into my senior year, I didn't know what I was going to do. Then this opportunity came up in Chicago. I was like, it's close enough. I'm originally from the Detroit area. Drove out there, interviewed, and on my way back home, I got the call that I got the job. The first 6 months were the worst 6 months of my entire life. Here's why. I sucked at the job. Honestly, I probably was the worst broker in those first 6 months. To the point where at the end of the 6 months, I couldn't pay for my rent. I thought I sucked, I hated it, everything was terrible, the whole world was burning around me. But then, after I got my bearings and the tide started to turn and whatever, I just kept pushing. The last 6 months of that year is where I would say the foundation of who I am today really started. I still remember my first appointment. I started in January of 2008, just to kind of set the picture here, right? It was freezing. And it was dark by 3 o'clock at night. The client came to our office. We were driving, instantly got lost. Had the client telling me where to go. It was so cold that eventually when we got there, the lockbox was frozen. I don't remember if I got him in or not. Definitely did not close that person. And the people that I started with in that class all were closing deals much quicker. And I remember 6 weeks in was my first deal. Finally got it signed, which was already at that point so far behind the rest of the pack. I'm like, I suck. Like obviously I'm the worst at this because look at the numbers, look at the stats. And then it essentially just kind of kept going like that for the next 6 months. Started to figure out, and I had an aha moment in that 6 month period. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember that that January, the following January, was by far the biggest sales month anybody ever had in that entire organization by tens of thousands of dollars. So that's the growth that I experienced. That I was preposterous, the number that I did. I was like, it's rentals, so I was doing rentals, but I remember I did like 34,000 in a month, which in rentals is like, you are just going and going and going and going. So that rapid rise showed me what opportunity lies in real estate and really built my confidence up. So I got fired from my first job in real estate. Actually, I got fired from my first job ever. It was my only job I've ever had. And I was the #1 salesperson by leaps and bounds. And I was looking for guidance and I was looking for the next step. And I was so hungry to figure out what that next step was. And I didn't intend to start my own company. That time and that getting fired was the reason that I hate bosses. And I realized that you need to be looking for mentors in your job. Because what I was working for a boss. Somebody that didn't sell any real estate, saw my rapid rise as a threat versus an asset, was starting to try to beat me down. And actually, they changed their entire contract around because of me. And what they ended up doing is they were forcing everybody to sign this new contract. And guess what was so much better in regards to the contract for it was a non-compete. And I had an attorney review and everything. He goes, if you sign this, you can never leave, essentially. And I still remember that moment where it was a defining time. This was the reason I got fired. Because the owner of the company comes up to me, he's like, Greg, you gotta sign this contract. And I'm not a good liar, never have been, never will be, don't want to be. And I try to lie on the spot. And I was like, my attorneys they're reviewing my attorneys. I was fucking like 23 years old, my fucking attorneys. Like I knew I was gonna sign it. And the next day he calls me into his office and he fires me. I remember I was in the office, it was him and his business partner, and they were both coming down on me. They were telling me why can't you just sign this? Why can't you just be a team player? All of these things. And I was a hothead, still am, but at that moment, I was quiet. And I wasn't quiet because I was scared to talk. So it was earlier on, as I was starting to get more successful, I started to realize that I was providing more to the environment than the environment was giving me. And then also when the bosses started to ask me what I was doing, and they couldn't provide the same sales etiquette and knowledge that I was able to provide, it started to make me think, maybe there's something more here. And their commission splits were just terrible. I mean, like when your eyes were open and you're supposed to get, when I did that $35,000 a month, I think I took home like 10, 11,000. You know what the guy said to me? He goes, $10,000, isn't that amazing? I want to look at him and be like, are you fucking kidding me? $10,000, I made fucking 30,000, bud. And their whole premise was everybody is equal in regards to how you get paid, which is bullshit. Sales, it's all about what you put in, you get out. So there was just these kind of like nuggets, these little breadcrumbs throughout that started to shift my focus in a way where, is there a better avenue? And I never really thought, should I go to a different company? Eventually I was like, I'm the best at this, I should just start my own company. I always look back at my experience with my first company that I worked at in regards to in real estate, you don't work for anybody. You're a partner of that firm. You just decide to hold your license there, right? And that's what the first company failed to realize. They thought they were my boss, not my partner in this game. Everywhere and everything that I do now is I see all of my agents as partners. And I want to be over-delivering value to them so that they don't have to go. And that's what, in the beginning of my starting and running Vesta, I wasn't doing that. I was just constantly thinking, why can't you be better? Why can't you better? Why can't you be better? Versus, what can I do to constantly make you better? That's the idea. If you don't want to do that, then don't own a company, right? So now it's all about everything that I give is value, 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 and I want them to be more, if they're not more successful with me than without me, then I'm doing something wrong. And I constantly ask my question, is this person gonna be more successful? And I don't bring them on. I say no to 97% of people that walk through my door wanting to work at Vesta. Because if I can guarantee to myself that you're gonna be more successful with me than without me, I don't want you working at Vesta, and neither should you.
So there's some agents that look at their managing broker. So there's some agents that look at their managing broker.
I mean, I'm not a charity here, right? But these agents, they understand that, right? And at the end of the day, I call my model a net income model, right? The way that most brokerages operate is they're a commission-based model because that's all they have to offer. I'll give you 80% commission, I'll give you 90% commission, 95%. It's a race to the bottom. We don't compete in that. The way that I compete is, regardless if you're at 100% firm, with me, you're gonna be making more money because I am giving you more value. We are a leads and systems-based organization. Those are the two things that you need to be successful, right? At the end of the day, you can have 100% and make zero in sales, or you can be with me and make a shit ton in sales, and you're not even looking at your commission splits because you have more money in the bank. We can go into a story down the road as to why I never wanted to have another team again before I created this team because of that specific reason. But everything relates back to you personally. People never look inwardly when it comes to why they're failing. They're always looking outward. So what I started to look at, is it because of me? Is it because of the way that I see what I'm providing to the agents and how I expect things back from them? And then things changed. Is it because of the way that I see what I'm providing to the agents and how I expect things back from them? And then things changed immediately for me. Yeah. Six months into my career, after a ton of failure, is actually when I found the vision to start my own company, my own real estate company. Here's how it happened. Have you ever read The 4-Hour Workweek? It came out right around that time. Tim Ferriss, everybody knows him. He breaks down essentially how to become more efficient, right? So he is a life efficiency coach, let's put it that way. And there was a part of the book that made you think about what are you spending all your time on and can you systematize it? Because most brokers, they don't think about their time as an hourly based salary, right? We get paid what we sell. So most brokers are like, I'm gonna sell this $400,000 house, I'm gonna make $10,000 on average in 45 days, right? That's the way they think about it. They don't think about the amount of time that they're spending on this, divide it by the amount of money, and then they realize, shit, I'm not making anything. So that's one of the things that made me kind of go step back and be like, shit, at that point I was posting for hours on Craigslist, hours, because that's how you got rental leads. And I realized, I was like, this is not valuable behavior. I am more valuable when I'm out in the field selling. So then I went into even further, can I figure out a way to make this automatic for me? That's when the world economy started to kind of really become connected. It's crazy that the internet was like kind of pseudo in its infancy stage. I had a client that he's from India, and he has a family in India, and he put me in contact with his family member that was happy and ready and willing to post Craigslist ads for pennies. Pennies was crazy. So then I started to figure out, I was like, man, I could for like $1 do what's gonna take me hours. Not that inexpensive, but like really inexpensive. And I tested it out, and that's what turned me into the agent that exploded in success. That's what happened. And nobody was doing it yet, and I was bombarding all of Craigslist with all of these ads. I was that spammer, right? Oh my God, I was king spam. But my God, did it work. There's so many calls. And then I was really focused on the actual money-making activities of phone calls, appointment, phone calls, appointment. At that time, Brad, he started in August, I started in January, right? So he kind of, I had this kind of whole aha moment, get up, failure, boom, bomb. It sounds like we were dating. I actually call him my in-office husband. It is what it is. I'm married to 2 people, Maria and Brad. It is what it is, gladly and happily. And at that time, he was having a hard time, obviously, like everybody else was posting. And something told me that I need to give him the secret. Everybody was asking me how I doing, how was I doing, and I don't know what it is about Brad. Well, I do now, right? I mean, obviously, it's been an incredibly successful partnership for 15 years running. But at that moment, I was like, I gotta help him. Just for the purpose of I wanted to help my buddy. We went out to Late Night Thai. It's on Belmont. I still remember, it was terrible food, terrible. And while eating this terrible food, I told Brad, you wanna know how I'm so successful? And Brad put his fork down, he goes, I've been dying for you to tell me. And that's the night I told him, and that's the night that Vesta actually started. Without us talking about it, but by me revealing to him my most valuable secret, the trust and bond that created from that moment is what glued the beginnings of Vesta Preferred. My father read Greek mythology to me growing up my entire life, and Vesta is the Greek goddess of home and hearth. So we had so many different iterations, so many different names, so many different, what do you call, what do you do, what do you not? And Vesta came out after I was like, what's the goddess of home and hearth? And it was Vesta, and I was like, I like that. Vesta Preferred. And it just kind of stuck together.